I've got good news today. I know why your organization is underperforming. And more importantly, I know what you can do to begin turning it around. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I do have is a career of working with and studying thousands of organizations. Many of them best in class, high performance organizations. Now, let me say a word about what a high performance organization is. Our working definition, these are the ones that are able to achieve and sustain elite levels of performance. Now, maybe that's you. If that is your case, congratulations. You probably don't need to watch the rest of this. But for most of the organizations that I've encountered, there's opportunity for improvement. So, a few years back, our team went to work and said, can we articulate what differentiates the high-performance organizations from all the others? And we have. But let me start at a really high level and say the singular element that is missing in underperforming organizations is typically a validated, repeatable process or strategy for high performance. Now, if I ask leaders, what's your approach? What's your strategy? What's your philosophy around high performance? Most every leader can come up with something. But in far too many cases, they're not based on fact. They're mythical, hopeful. They're not even strategies. It's like, we're going to hire good people and turn them loose. Well, yeah, you all want to hire good people, but that's not a strategy for high performance. And so we said, no. Let's go and let's look at these organizations that consistently excel and see what we can learn. And what we discovered is high performance organizations have 4 distinctives, 4 things that I would encourage you to think about as I run through these and say, how many of these are true about our organization? Because these are the elements required for that validated strategy. So the first thing all high performance organizations do is they bet on leadership. Now, I don't know how that strikes you. It may feel like a blinding flash of the obvious, but I have encountered far too many organizations that do not invest in leadership. And when we talk about that bet on leadership, we're suggesting that it's an investment in your current leaders as well as an investment in leaders of the future, emerging leaders, aspiring leaders. And the reason we call it a bet is because sometimes you're going to get it right and sometimes you're going to get it wrong. But in these elite organizations, it's still a bet that you have to place. Because if you don't have enough leaders, you're never going to reach your full potential. And by the way, you can't execute the balance of this strategy I'm about to unpack for you. So people have asked me, so is a bet on leadership the most important of the 4 components? And I said, well, they're all critical, they're all essential, but you can think about bet on leadership as the first among equals. Oh, one more thing, that does include you. And it does include me, not just the leaders around us. We need to be learning and growing ourselves for many reasons, speed of the leader, speed of the team, but also we won't have the moral authority to ask others to learn and grow if we're not learning and growing. So the first move of all high performance organizations, they bet on leadership. The second thing they do is they act as one. And this is about alignment. This is really about culture. This is about getting everybody's heads, hearts, and hands moving with you in the direction that you're trying to go. We often use the metaphor of a tug of war for a high-performance organization, and we say that in these best organizations, these elite high-performance organizations, you get everybody on your side of the rope. Now, you're still in a tug of war, but you're pulling against your competition and towards your goals. Well, just imagine that metaphor, and what happens if you have everybody on your side of the rope and they're not aligned? Then you lose all of that potential for synergy. You dissipate all that energy because you've got men and women pulling in different directions. So if you want to act as one, you've got to clarify for people and you've got to communicate those things that are most important. And you do get to decide vision, values, mission, strategies. You just need to have some real conversations with senior leaders about what are those things that we want to cascade throughout the organization. The things you need to cascade so that once people are on your side of the rope, that they're pulling with you. Think about that. So much confusion exists at the front lines. And if you want to test that, just ask some of your frontline people about what is the vision, or what are our values, or what are the key strategies. And my experience says that unless you've worked hard on this, you'll probably be disappointed. So you need people to be well led, you need people to be aligned. And then the third move of all high performance organizations is they win the heart. And this is about engagement. This is about getting people who are on your side of the rope and aligned to care enough to pull. And you want them to pull hard. You want them to invest themselves fully. So the trick for me and you as leaders is, what do we need to do to create the context and the environment for people to care more? That's actually how we define engagement. Engagement is when someone cares about their work, their coworkers, their customers, and the organization. So there's a lot that you and I can do, but the first thing I would say is you have to own this. I've had conversations far too often with leaders that they don't want to own engagement. They want it to be the responsibility and the problem with the employee. Well, that sounds fine, but that's why you've got 70% of the American workforce is disengaged at work. It's because you've got a lot of leaders who've abdicated that responsibility. Some of you need to make engagement a higher priority, because people who don't care don't execute on the fourth move, which is to excel at execution. All high-performance organizations excel at execution. How do they do that? They're well-led, they're aligned, their people care and are engaged, and they are focused on execution. Now, one of the very first times, it might even have been the first time, I've been trying to remember, I shared what I just shared with you with a group of leaders, and somebody said, excel at execution. Now you're talking. They said, I don't care about all that other crap. Well, let me tell you what I told that leader. I said, that concerns me. He said, no, all we're gonna do is focus on execution. I said, yeah, but think about the gymnast that said, I just wanna do the dismount. How does that work? Where does the gymnast get the height, the energy, and momentum to stick the landing? It's in the routine that precedes the dismount. So, from an organizational perspective, those that excel at execution, think of that as the dismount. Where do they get the height, the energy, and momentum? It's in the routine that precedes the dismount. Leadership, alignment, and engagement. That's what positions you and prepares you to execute well. Now, you still need to help people understand what execution looks like, what it means. They still need to be trained. They still need the tools. I mean, there's stuff to do. It's not automatic. If you do those first three moves, you're not guaranteed execution, but you're positioned to execute along with the elite organizations on the planet. So that's a credible, validated strategy to create a high-performance organization. How are you doing? Think about those moves individually. How strong are your leaders? Do you have ample leaders for today? And do you anticipate having ample leaders for the future? How aligned are your people? And you can test that. You can do it formally with surveys. You can do it informally with conversations. But I think you know in your heart, and in part, it's a byproduct of how much energy you've invested on alignment. But are your people on the same side of the rope with you, and are they pulling with you towards your goals? And then how much do people care? Many of you have measured engagement. That is a crucial piece, because as one of the individual contributors I talked to about this whole concept said they had realized something. I said, what did you realize? They said, we now understand that people who don't care don't consistently execute at a high level. And then finally, does everybody know what a win looks like as you think about execution? Do you have standards? Do you have benchmarks? Do you have models? Do you have goals? Are your people focused on execution? When you put these 4 moves in place, you have the potential to not only lead your industry, but to become one of the elite organizations in the world.